Exploding onto the scene in 1977, Cyrille Regis was one of the most exciting footballers of his generation. Full of power and pace and blessed with explosive shooting ability, he was adored by the fans of each of his 6 clubs. Known as a gentle giant and respected amongst his fellow professionals, Cyrille has experienced the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in his 20 years in football. Join us as we review the career of Cyrille Regis, legend of soccer. Cyrille Regis was born in French Guiana, South America in February 1958, the third of 5 children. His parents joined the influx of immigrants to Britain in 1963, joining Cyrille's uncle, the father of British international athlete John Regis, in North London.
I think we all got on the old banana boat, so to speak, to come over here and to get a better living for ourselves in terms financially. My father was a labourer, my mother was a seamstress.
Everything he could find in his way, he would kick it. And he said to me, when you get older, you would like to be like
Billy.
At times I used to drive them bananas, obviously having no money, and then I used to play football all the time and no money. He used to buy me a pair of shoes, and within 2-3 weeks there were holes in through playing football.
As a big brother, he was fine. He was never really a problem to me. Obviously there's the usual banter and winding up with younger brothers. It was 6 years between us, so it's quite a large gap.
He was quite good academically, to be honest, but he gained his recognition really through his sporting prowess and also through his character. Because I've been at the school for a long time, and perhaps there have been footballers as good as Cyrille, but I don't think I've met many nicer people.
I didn't get in the school team until I was 13. I wasn't a late developer in all fields. I played for the Borough of Brent. I played for a club called Oxford and Kilburn. I played with the Gattins, Steve Gattin and Mike Gattin back then. He was a good footballer, Mike, but I think his career obviously went to cricket. We played together for a year at Oxford and Kilburn. It's like a youth club. It was a good time. When you went there, you had discos and table tennis, snooker, and all that kind of stuff. It was a good fun time. You was learning about life and friends and the social side of growing up.
He was an outstanding schoolboy player, but I was really a bit surprised, as were many others, that he made such a great impact in his first year or so, having left school.
The impression Cyrille was making in non-league circles led to him being watched on a frosty Sunday morning by a representative of Molesey FC of Surrey.
The manager, who was the chairman at the time, spotted me playing for Ryder Bent Valley in Regis Park League Sunday mornings, and invited me down to Moseley, and I signed up in 75-76 season, and we used to get paid £5 a week, which was great money.
The Regis star was in the ascendancy, and after just one season with Molesey, Cyrille was signed by Hayes of the Alliance Premier League, though who actually spotted him is open to question.
Who signed him? It's the usual thing afterwards. Various people, once you get a star, turn around and claim credit. But Bobby Ross was definitely our manager at that time, and I believe they was actually looking at another player when they spotted Cyrille.
That judgment proved immaculate, and Cyrille graced the pitch at Hayes during the 1976-77 season, scoring a hatful of goals and being feared by defences throughout semi-professional football.
He was part and parcel of Hayes. If you went in the bar afterwards, you'd see a big circle of players, and all I remember of Cyrille was you'd see this big smile. It used to seem all like teeth, and Cyrille was one of the gang. And later on, after we sold Cyrille, we actually bought the new heads for our floodlights from Cyrille, out of the Cyrille money. And we used to always turn around and say, that's Cyrille's smile, looking down on the old pitch.
Couldn't fault him. I think he had the right attitude, and you could see that he was going to go a long way. It was just in him. You've either got it or you haven't.
Cyrille most certainly had. Transfer speculation abounded, but it was not until West Bromwich Albion's Ronnie Allen watched Cyrille play at Ilford that anyone made a definite move.
The manager for West Bromwich Albion interested in him, and if I would like him to sign on with West from East Albion. So I said yes. I didn't stop in his way because I knew he was always wanted to be a professional football. So the manager, when everything signed up and things, I'm a very clever mother to let him go at 19 all the way in Birmingham on his own.
There's a story that he tells me when he recommended me, was that they thought, well, paying £5,000 for a raw teenager was a bit much. And Ronnie Allen turned around and said, well, I'll buy it for my own money. And when he makes it, you give my money back. And that pushed them into buying me. So I got a lot to owe to Ronnie Allen.
Cyrille signed for West Brom in the summer of 1977, expecting to spend some time settling into the reserves. However, things didn't quite turn out as he'd expected.
We'd heard one or two reports about Cyrille being a good player and he was a good header of the ball. Well, at that time there wasn't many people around who were a better header than myself. And during the practice match, somebody threw a ball in from the wing, and I just went up, as I always do, just meaning to head it away. When all of a sudden I just saw this big shadow coming across the top of me and heading it. And I thought, So I looked around and it was Cyrille. And it happened a couple of times. And on the third time I thought, right, I'm really going to have a go for this and show this kid. But he was still above me and he still headed it. So he made a big impact straight away.
That impact convinced Ronnie Allen to throw the young Cyrille Regis in for his debut in a League Cup tie against Rotherham on the 31st of August 1977.
I remember the afternoon, Ronnie Allen coming over and saying to me that you're playing, go home and rest up, you're playing. And I'm thinking, well, this is unbelievable. I've just come pro football 2-3 months. I was only 19, and the biggest crowd I ever played in was about 400 or 500 in a FA Trophy game for Hayes. And all of a sudden you're pitched in and you know they're going to be more 10,000 plus, and he was scared. I mean, you've got a butterfly, you're apprehensive. There's that fear, that mixture of fear and excitement that goes with debuts, and you're running on pure adrenaline.
All clubs need a hero, and he was a player that looked, within a few seconds of starting his first game, he looked as if he was ready-made for the part.
You could sense it as he came out, that all of a sudden this big guy wearing number 9, and he looked the part. That was the most important thing, he looked the part.
It was quite startling actually, because he just marched into the team and more or less took over.
Cyrille had a dream debut, terrorising the unsuspecting Rotherham defence and scoring a goal before being brought down to earn West Brom a penalty.
The crowd was chanting my name to take the penalty, because usually Tony Brown takes the penalty, and he thought, well, we'll give it to Cyrille. And I went up and made it 3-0, I think.
Yeah, it just shows the confidence of Cyrille, that, to walk into the team and not actually want to be taking a penalty in your debut. It shows good bottle.
But afterwards, Ronnie Allen had a right go at Tony Brown, because if I'd have missed, he could have sort of really psychologically changed me. So it wasn't a professional thing to do, to give a youngster on his debut the penalty. But I went out and scored another goal, and that's how my career took off.
And 3 days later, on his league debut against Middlesbrough, Cyrille really started to fly.
He gets the ball in our half of the field, beats 4 blokes, bang, 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 and then from about 30 yards, whack, in the back of the net. And the whole ground just went absolutely ballistic.
I remember now he just looked up once, and the foot went back, and the shot that came from it.
I don't think the Albion fans had seen goals like that, and it immediately took to their hearts.
The fans saw this tremendous pace and power that he had, and they just took to him, and he was, from that moment, he was a hero to the Albion fans.
Not only did he score that goal, he went on to score subsequently goal after goal after goal. And the guy just captivated the Albion supporters. We had never ever seen anything like it.
Statham. Regis took it down beautifully. 2-1.
He had great upper body strength, terrific upper body strength, that carried him into defenders, through them, over them, whatever, never round them, over them.
Regis. Trying to set himself up for the shot, and he's in again, and he stabs it in, and he's scored again. There's Cyrille Regis.
And here's Regis, and Regis is going it alone, and he's got the power. Has he got the poise? He has! What a magnificent goal by Cyrille Regis.
Previous season he played non-league football for Hayes. Crowds of between 200 and 300 an average every game. He hit the scene here with 15,000, and then within a month he was playing in front of up 30,000 at Main Road, and it's just as though he'd just been born into football.
He used to terrorise defenders, and it was great for the rest of us around him because he made so much room for us.
He had one thing in his mind when he got the ball, and you know, 9 times out of 10 it ended up in the back of the net where he wanted it.
And Gilbert hasn't been able to stop them now. Can Batson cross that in again? He can. It's a good one. Regis! Ron Atkinson off the bench.
Delivering to Regis, a little flick on, and here goes Dean. Ball into Regis. He did well. He did very well. And he has scored. Yes, Cyrille Regis. What a shocker then for Nottingham Forest. Cyrille Regis, 1-0.
Every time he picked up the ball, the whole crowd would go, expect a little bit of something different. And you know, more times than not, he provided it.
Against Buckley. Got the cross in, Willie Johnston. Regis, oh yes. 2-1. Cyrille Regis, right on the button.
The night Elvis Presley died, I don't know how old it was, about 10 or something. Cyrille had made his debut and was already a hero. And my dad shouted up to me. I was in bed late one night. He shouted up to me, "Steve, the King is dead." And I left out of bed thinking it was Cyrille Regis. Ran downstairs. I go, "Cyrille's dead." He says, "No, it's Elvis Presley." Oh, thank God for that.
The Albion side of that time, the late 70s, was absolutely phenomenal.
Players like John Weil, Ali Robertson, Tony Brown, been there a lot of years, and I mean, we were solid.
One of his biggest attributes was his ability to make other people good players. And you could knock the ball up to Cyrille and it would stick there, and he would hold 1 or even 2 people off.
Cyrille Regis and Laurie Cunningham, they were the players that just could do something different. Everything went through Cyrille.
Rescue by Frank Gray. Albion still have plenty of men forward to take advantage of it. Cunningham. Johnston. Regis. And that secures the points from Cyrille Regis. Well, they congratulate Regis, but he turns to Laurie Cunningham, who left Frank Gray for dead. Gray's original mistake had given Albion possession, and from the byline the ball wasn't wasted. Johnston just touched it on, and on the right foot drilled home by Regis.
Because they had a good foundation, Johnny Giles had taught them a real passing and movement style. It was easy to fit in because they were a well-run outfit.
You got Laurie Cunningham on one wing, you got Willie Johnston on the other, you got Cyrille Regis going down the centre, you got Brian Robson prompting from midfield, you got Tony Brown, who was the record goal scorer, you got John Weil as the pivot at the back. I mean, everything was there. All it needed was just gently bringing together.
The catalyst which really ignited Albion was provided in January 1978, when Ron Atkinson replaced the Saudi Arabia-bound Ronnie Allen as manager.
We've got probably the quickest team I've ever worked with in my life, and the quicker they got the ball, the better it was for us. We could attack sides from the halfway line easily because we had so many outstanding players with so much pace.
Tony Brown, determined run. Oh, good ball for Regis. My word!
Ron gave us a licence to people to get forward and to try things. And if they didn't come off, then nobody was going to jump on them, as long as they were trying them in the right parts of the field.
Ron was the type of person that made you believe in yourself and let you express yourself. And I mean, I can remember Ron, most games to Cyrille before he went out, he used to turn and say, "Cyrille, go and excite me, son." And basically that's what Cyrille was all about. He was very, very exciting.
Alistair Brown. Oh, a chance here perhaps for Regis. Oh, what a shot! Well, that was brilliantly taken. And Cyrille Regis gets the congratulations for a fine opportunist goal.
Great story about Ron. is that when Cyril eventually found religion, Christianity, and he talks about finding peace in his life, and Ron asks him, what's all this about finding God? He worked with him for 5 years at West Brom. Ron made Cyril.
He came with it was like a breath of a very charismatic air into the place. The way he spoke, the way he handled the media. I mean, I don't think I've known anybody who can handle the media as well as Big Ron.
Memorably, one of Ron's first publicity stunts involved Cyril, Laurie Cunningham, Brendan Batson, and a pop group.
3 Degrees, yeah, that's typical Big Ron.
I think I actually called it one day, quite by accident, and then by coincidence, I think the 3 Degrees were actually appearing in town in Birmingham. And then they did a little promo thing, and the girls came up and did something half-time a game against Everton when we nicked Everton 1-0 late in the game, and it stuck.
And as you can imagine, there was no black players. I don't think playing in the first division at the time, and to have 3 at West Brom was radical.
And they weren't just 3 players who were just making up the team. These 3 were an integral part of it, like Cyril was scoring goals, Laurie was creating things and scoring goals, Brendan was not tying it up at the back, Rady down the wing, and it was all exciting.
There was an important role for us to play in actually showing to the black community that there was a future, and to the parents of boys with talent, that there was a future for them in professional football, because these were the ones that made it at the very highest level.
They did go over the divide, if you like. They did bring people in. They gave Albion a new identity, and they had to run some racial abuse as well.
Bananas on the pitch, monkey chants, songs, letters through the post, the whole work. So he was very conscious that he was a black player in playing football.
I think he's one of those people who had the bottle to stand up and go out and not be afraid of the chants and the this, that and the other and the banana throwing. And he's made it easier for us to come on and get the careers that a lot of black players have got today.
At the time you don't realise what you're actually doing, but you're saying, well, you're going to give me a stick, I'm going to go out there and show you.
There was quite a strong racist element around, and so people, really the effects that people like Cyril and Laurie Cunningham and Brendan Batson had at the Albion really can't be underestimated. They did a great job in breaking down the barriers.
Without, sounding too arrogant or conceited, I think the likes of myself, Laurie Cunningham, Brendan Batson, Viv Anderson, Garth Crooks, Justin Fashanu, Luther Blissett, Ricky Hill, we really did set the pace for the generations to come of black players.
They all hold Regis up as the man.
Obviously, when you're younger, I mean, there wasn't many black players about. So every time you saw a black player making it, you think, oh gosh, if he can do it, then maybe, if I push myself, I'll get the chance as well. Then, as it happened, I did get the chance, and throughout the years now, many black players have come through the game, and you look at the teams now, and there's loads of black players playing.
So I think as role models, they saw the fact that if they can do it, we can do it, and I think that had a profound effect on the young black boys playing football in this country. Just like seeing right.
First time I met him, we played against Coventry, and I just said to him, you're my hero. I'm actually playing against my idol, somebody who I really love, And he just laughed, he was laughing, and people do it to me now, funnily enough, and I can imagine how he felt, but it was really when I was actually playing against him, I felt like I've reached somewhere, because I'm playing against Cyril Regis,
Big Ron had also developed the knack of motivating Cyril to fulfil his massive potential, albeit in unconventional ways.
They try and liven them up before the game and everything, just to get him going and get him angry. And he'd be rubbing Vic all over him and swilling his face with cold water and all this, and saying, come on, mate, and punching him and everything. And Cyril used to let him do this.
If Ron ever walked past you, you better tense your stomach muscles, because he'd come in and he'd just whack you really hard in your stomach muscles. And if he wasn't caught out, you'd be winded like you wouldn't believe.
At that time we were getting sort of 35,000 crowds at the Hawthorns, and that was because they were excited by the type of football we were playing.
Albion embarked upon an FA Cup run, taking on mighty Manchester United in a 4th round replay after a 1-1 draw at Old Trafford. Cyril was on fire in a famous 3-2 victory.
immediately the fans saw that he was a player that could just burn through defences.
You could see the whites of the defenders' eyes when he started going at them at full speed. It must have been a terrible sight to see this guy coming at you. He's built really big. He's power, he's got strength, and you know full well when that leg goes back and it unleashes a rocket, the goalkeeper's going to do very well to keep out the way.
In the 6th round, Albion drew runaway league leaders Nottingham Forest at the Hawthorns.
And here's Regis, they're caught square, this is a chance! Oh, he took it superbly!
If Peter Schultz had got in the way, he would probably have cut him in two. And in fact, Schultz said afterwards, I've never seen anybody hit a shot so hard at me like that.
Albion were installed as cup favourites after being drawn against lowly Ipswich in the semi-finals.
Ron Atkinson, for reasons best known to himself, had paraded the team around Wembley 2 or 3 days prior to the semi. As if to say, you know, with Wembley appearances in the bag. Consequently, it was as good as a team talk to Ipswich.
We never really, for a long period of the game, for an hour or so, we didn't do ourselves justice.
Mills breaking, unmarked. Number 4 was the scorer, Brian Talbot. Right through to Regis, and Regis couldn't cut it, and Mills scored. Mills, the captain. And a penalty to be taken by Tony Brown. 2-1.
I remember turning around in the dressing room after the game, looking at Cyrille, trying to say something to him, but nothing would just come out of my mouth, and he did the same, and you knew that was our first real experience of a major upset.
They were the better side on the day, no doubt about it, and we were very disappointed.
But the disappointment only served to spur Albion to greater heights the following season, starting with the visit to the Hawthorns of Coventry City.
They were nicknamed the Sky Blues, as everyone knows. But why they turned up in a chocolate brown coloured strip, I shall never ever know. And by the end of 90 minutes, they'd melted.
Their 7-1 victory is still remembered fondly by everyone associated with the Baggies.
I think even Brendan Batson scored. He scored in the near post. It was just a very good game.
It was just one of them games where we absolutely annihilated them on the day.
We just absolutely murdered them. We ripped them apart from the first kick to the last.
I would come to matches with as much enthusiasm and anticipation as any fan, because you knew that barring any sort of weird and wonderful things, you were going to see a spectacle.
The game that sticks out to me, I've still got it on tape, and whenever I'm feeling a little bit depressed about football, I put it on, especially if I'm feeling depressed about Albion. I'll put it on, and it's that Man United 5-3. And that, to me, is total football.
I remember Regis, I remember Cunningham, Cantello, Robson. They're all turning United's defenders this way, that way, and bang, 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 pass, pass, pass. It was quite extraordinary, and I felt really privileged to be there.
Out to Cunningham. The booing of the black players. Paid off there, or repaid by Tony Brown. Cunningham again. Past Koppel, past McCreary. Regis wanting one chipped in, no, it's played in low for him. Back heel for Cantello. What a magnificent goal! What a great goal! Cantello's header on. And Tony Brown has scored. Good control. Now he's heading for goal. Just stopped, and Regis lets the shot go. And what a save by Bailey. That's a neat little header from Regis for Cunningham, and if he keeps his head, he'll score. Cunningham letting the ball beat Houston, and he's away again to show that pace and grace and control. Just a nicely weighted little pass for Ali Brown, who's turned inside Brian Greenoff, on for Regis. Oh, what a goal!
it just culminated the whole game. It was good goals all around, and you ask any Albion player and fan what's their favourite game, what epitomises Albion at the time, and they'll tell you Man United 5-3.
The sheer excitement of the day was enjoyed by everyone. You know, both sets of fans, I think, came away from the game realising they'd witnessed a special match.
If you really had to pin me sometimes, I would say that might be the best game I've ever seen.
That was when we saw Cyrille at his very best, and Cyrille was at his very best in a team that was playing at the top of its game.
Johnston. 3 to hit with the cross. Back for Regis, and was it deflected? But it's in.
Having finished 6th in the league the previous season, Albion were also enjoying a run in the UEFA Cup.
Well, you soon realise it's a totally different style of football. The English game, we tend to hand back the ball quicker, and in international games, European games, you have to keep the ball. It's a much more game of patience and of chess and tactics. The travelling was good fun. It broke up the season, broke up the weeks, and we look forward to it, to travelling abroad, get another stamp on your passport, another town, playing against foreign players, and progressing in the cup.
The Baggies disposed of Galatasaray and Sporting Braga comfortably before being drawn against cup favourites Valencia in round 3.
Valencia, you must remember, had some kind of team, including Mario Kempes, the Argentinian World Cup star. But Albion went over there and they got a 1-1 draw. But in the second half, Laurie Cunningham and Cyrille just terrorised the Spanish defence. That night, actually, Laurie Cunningham sold himself to Real Madrid.
Albion had drawn 1-1 in Valencia, so they had the cushion of the away goal counting double. And if Valencia was packed to the rafters, then the Hawthorns was. You couldn't get anywhere around the Hawthorns that night. It was mayhem.
Fabulous night. I always think this has been one of the best nights ever in my career. European night against a world famous team, and we proceeded to show them how to play football.
Brown, and nobody got it, but that was handball. Yes, yes, penalty. So the penalty. Tony Brown. Yes, 1-0. Just over 5 minutes gone. Cunningham's got to get past Carretti, and he does. Looking cross, Brown. Yes, that'll do it. Tony Brown, his second goal of the night.
Installed as favourites for the Cup themselves, Albion then drew Red Star Belgrade in the quarter-finals.
Lost 1-0 over there, and I remember scoring the equaliser back at home, and we was all set up for extra time, 5 minutes to go, and the little player, I think it was Shustish, got in there and scored the winner. We was all gutting. 38,000 at Albion. It was a great night of European football, but we were really disappointed.
If you're going to win a competition, you've got to beat anybody that's pitted against you. They were an exceptional side as well, and to lose the way we did, I think was a little bit unfortunate.
You know, if they'd have gone past that one, you thought they might have gone all the way to the final, but it wasn't to be. And it was, the season with them was just about starting to fall apart.
We didn't win nothing was virtually the fact that we had a really hard winter, and the whole programme shut down for a month. And we had to cram in a lot of games in 6 weeks, and by that time, you know, our legs were gone.
We picked up a few injuries, and that was the one thing why we couldn't really sustain the challenge, which it was always Liverpool at that time, and we just couldn't stay with them because the squad just wasn't big enough at West Brom.
I think if it wasn't for the cold spell, we had a month off and we didn't play, I think we would have won the league.
Albion eventually finished 3rd behind champions Liverpool, and Cyrille's contribution to this achievement was recognised by his fellow professionals, voting him as the Young Player of the Year.
Of all the accolades that I've won, that Young Player of the Year was the best. You're talking about your fellow pros voting for you as the young player that's up and coming, and you tend to respect them more because they know their game, they've been in the game, they know what to look for, and to get their votes was tremendous.
To make an immediate impact says something very special about the man and his ability. He could have quite easily been burnt out after the first season. He could have quite easily been burnt out after 3 months. he could certainly have gone to his head and become somebody not very pleasant. But nothing of that ever happened. He was a level-headed lad always. He had his feet firmly on the ground, but he was a smashing bloke.
In May 1978, West Bromwich Albion were invited to become the first British professional football club to visit the People's Republic of China.
Oh, China, I mean, it's the first time I've ever been out of this country. I mean, I remember the end of that season, I didn't even have a passport. Tremendous experience. At times very boring, because you imagine a very communist state, communist country, there's not a lot to do in terms of social life. But their culture was unbelievable.
And 12 months later, the Chinese national team paid a reciprocal visit to the Hawthorns.
Familiar sight there. Alistair Brown shoving, the goalkeeper put off, and Regis got in, and that's 2-0.
It was easy, but it was bridge building in terms of England and China. It was significant in terms of football, and as I said before, his friendship, it was bridge building between two countries on a sporting level.
During his first 2 years in football, the young Cyrille Regis had learned some of the realities of playing professionally for a living.
You have to have that mental attitude, no matter what game it is. You got to go out there and do your best.
Now Barnes. Regis with a header, and it's there.
John Wall got the touch, and Regis gets the goal, and it counts. It's 1-0 Albion, and on his 22nd birthday, Cyrille Regis knocks in his 7th goal of the season. Knocked out by Hull. Robson, and the goal from Regis. Yes, 2-1. Cyrille Regis. Oh, this is a birthday and a half for Cyrille Regis.
He was clobbered in the pre-season friendly against China before the start of the 79-80 season, missed 3 months, and until he came back we were in the bottom 3 or 4. It was that bad, we just could not score without him.
And you need that desire to get back from injury, to go through the pain barrier, to work hard, to regain your fitness, and psychologically to go back, play where you can get hurt again.
And here's Barnes again. And Regis! Lovely cross. And there was nothing that the two defenders, Moore and Alberston, could do about it.
Money. Batson. Ball off to Regis. Round Regis. And he's going to get there now. Cyrille Regis has done it.
There's loads of physical players who try and kick you, try and intimidate you physically, and for me, they're not the hardest players to play against. The thinking ones are the hardest players. I think the best I've played against is probably Alan Hansen at Liverpool. He had everything, reading the game. He wasn't an aggressive player, but he could use the ball, he could go forward, and that's one thing a striker doesn't want, to be chasing central defenders when he goes on these mazes. Sometimes you think you've gone up for the ball, you've flicked it on, and you think, yeah, it's a good flick, you turn around and Alan Hans just pulling it down on his chest and he's stroking it wide.
He was great in the air, he was strong, he was quick, he never gave you a moment to settle on the ball. I think the biggest accolade I can pay to Cyrille is that when I looked round the players and other teams around about that time, late 70s, early 80s, and looked for a striker that could play for Liverpool, then Cyrille would be certainly top of the list.
We only had that team that did so well in the 78-79 season for one season. Brown Robson suddenly was a force in that season. Obviously, everybody knows what he went on to do. But Laurie Cunningham left at the end of that season to join Real Madrid.
Laurie went for about £900,000 and Langan for $400,000. And I think we, looking back in hindsight, we should have kept those two players, even though it would have broke the roof to pay them wages. We had a tremendous spirit, and those two were a vital cog in the system, and we should have kept them, no matter what.
The final straw was the departure of manager Ron Atkinson to Manchester United, along with the influential Brian Robson and Remy Moses.
He knew who he's getting. He knew that in Brian Robson he was getting a tremendous player. Perhaps the best player in terms of consistency I've ever played with. He had everything in the football, the most complete football I've ever played with.
And these departures led to a season of rebuilding under the returning Ronnie Allen. However, Cyrille had a new lease of life under his old mentor.
I think he's probably the only manager I've played for who's ever been a striker, and I had my best year under him. So it's great to have someone, especially when younger, has confidence in your ability. You can go out there and play knowing that the manager has confidence in you.
Charles. That's a good through ball to Regis. The flag stays down. And Albion, who have been under the hammer, take the lead. Owen. And Regis has won out in a 1-for-1 against Owen. He bided his time so well. And here's Regis again. And a hat-trick for him.
He realised I was more of an explosive player. He just wanted me to do all my work in that half of the pitch.
Piece of control by Regis. Oh, and what a great shot! Oh, one of the goals of the season. Cyrille Regis. What a way to end a barren spell. Cyrille Regis, who's gone 7 games without a goal, scores an absolute beauty.
I took it on my chest. I went past a couple of friends and managers, Mike O'Neill and Stevie Walford, who I subsequently played for Wycombe Wanderers. Hit it from about 25 yards into the top corner past Chris Woods. Yeah, that was a special goal, and one of my favourites, definitely.
Just to be there on an occasion like that was something that, you know, as a supporter, you're never going to forget.
Goals like that saw Cyrille called up to the full England team.
Cyrille Regis is going to get his chance in place of the injured Trevor Francis.
Oh, it's a tremendous honour. I think no matter what you do in life, you want to reach the highest pinnacles. For players who've been in England for 100 caps, 50 caps must be tremendous, but to have 5 caps and your first cap, to reach those pinnacles is magnificent.
And here's Keegan. Nelson across, they're ganging up in the middle. One of them is Regis! And he was there almost too early. Wilkins. Anderson, Huddle. And the diving attempt by Cyrille Regis.
Although I was scoring goals, we didn't do too well in the league. And we reached 2 semi-finals that year, and we thought, yeah, we got a great chance of getting at Wembley.
The Baggies reached the FA Cup semi-final by beating Coventry 2-0 at the Hawthorns.
For Regis. Oh, what a shot! What a goal! That was something special.
He raced clear into the penalty area at the Smyrick end of the goal and cracked a shot as hard as anyone, you know, in his position at that time, and the ball zoomed into the net.
The League Cup was a double-legged affair, and we drew 0-0 here against Tottenham. And we went down to Tottenham, we lost 1-0, which was very disappointing. But we thought we have a better chance. We played QPR at Highbury in the FA Cup semis.
Albion left out Gary Owen, probably to the annoyance of the supporters, and they just lost it in midfield.
QPR realised what they needed to do was stop Cyrille, so they put Bob Hazel on him. They stopped Statham coming forward, and after that it was really just a question of QPR having one chance, and if they had the one chance and scored, they'd win, and that's what happened.
We were abysmal. We just didn't start. I wouldn't say we froze, but you know, we just didn't put 2 or 3 passes together throughout the game.
But you know, you live to fight another day. You have to clean your mind and look forward to the next game, the next season, and try and attain some sort of glory next season.
Cyrille's personal glory was his first start in an England shirt against West Germany.
Regis! Corner.
nicely done. This is Wilkins with the cross. Regis far post. Hill. Good save by Schumacher from Ricky Hill.
And I was delighted when Cyrille got into the England team because it was a breakthrough for Cyrille and for West Bromwich Albion players. And I thought he would do very well playing for England.
Ron Wiley had become Albion manager after the acrimonious departure of Ronnie Allen. His first move was to bring in a new striking partner for Cyrille.
It was a nice combination because we were both quite aggressive and strong. Obviously, Cyril's very quick and that, and he had a lot of awareness. And he showed me a lot of things. He taught me a lot of things about the game and that, helped me improve in that. And I really enjoyed the partnership. It's one of the best I had.
I think it was that year I started to pick up injuries left, right, and centre. I smashed my cheekbone. I ended up being out for 9 weeks.
I remember him having a cartilage operation, which he was out for some time, but came back, bounced back, and was soon back on the goal trail.
Started it all off, and he's got Regis going through for Albion. What a fine save by Spink. And Regis has got the ball back, and he scored! Amazing!
Despite Cyrille's opportunist strike, Albion opened the 1983-84 season with a 4-3 defeat at Villa Park. It proved symptomatic of the season Albion were to have, and for the first time, Cyrille was having to cope with playing in a struggling team.
It was a learning curve. I mean, you can imagine having 5 years of success and then 2 years of injuries, getting stick, being criticised, and it's a learning curve. How do I deal with it? You've not been in that position before.
I think people expected him to move on. He got to the stage of his career where he maybe felt he needed a change.
And in October '84, I wasn't playing well. The side had changed a bit. Ron Wiley had come and gone, and he wanted to change things. And he thought, well, you know, the only one person to get some money for was Sir Regis, and Coventry came in with an offer.
He did not want to go because he didn't want to leave West Brom, but you know, we talked about it at length actually, and I said, you've got to go. You've got to go because they don't want you anymore.
He did really want to go, so when I last spoke to him, he was going for talks, but he wasn't really going to sign one. And next thing he came on the radio, he signed, and I was gutted. Like.
But it was a sad time, really, because I feel like he became one of us.
What Cyrille contributed towards the Albion, and it contributed so much on behalf of black players. It was sad to see him go.
My heart ruled my head, and I said, well, stuff you, you're going to go to Coventry and show you that I'm a good player. But it didn't work out.
People realised that Cyrille had probably a year or so's lack of form at West Brom, and that some people were thinking, well, he might be on the slide, but he was perceived to be a top grade striker.
I think he had to have a lot of thought really into the move from West Brom to come here in the first place, and it wasn't an easy choice, but he made his mind up, and within weeks or maybe months the manager's gone and he's got to prove himself to somebody else.
That cuts you up as well. As you're a player, you don't particularly want to go to Coventry, and the manager you signed for, who teased you away, he gets a sack within 2 months. You think, well, you know, and all your friends and papers were saying you've done the wrong move, you've done it for money reasons and bits and pieces. So it was a very stressful time. Hence I started losing my hair that year.
Coventry were deep in the relegation mire, and at the end of the season faced 3 games which they had to win to stay up.
Nobody gave us a prayer, obviously. I remember the first game we went to Stoke and won that 1-0. Then we beat Luton at our place 1-0. And then we had to play the league champions, Everton.
What happened, I think Everton had won the league. It was after they'd won the league, I think they went away. They went away for the pre-season tour and came back and played us. And I think they might have been quite hangover from their tour. And we scored 4.
Everything went right that day. We had a full house. We played really, really well as a team. And we always had the spirit. That's probably what kept us together and made us survive.
But the following season was no better. Coventry were in the lower reaches all season, and manager Don Mackay's tactics were being questioned by fans and players alike.
When he first came to Coventry City, he felt a bit perhaps that they were putting the ball
in the air to him too much, whereas really for a big guy, surprisingly, his skill was mainly on the floor.
And he tried and put in a bit more of a direct style, which didn't really adhere to the players that we had. And consequently, he got the sack.
Mackay was replaced as manager by coach John Cyrille.
Changed overnight. I mean, John Cyrille was larger than life, a man in the same mould as Ron Atkinson. Loved the laugh, loved the social spirit, but knew the distance to keep between the players.
He's a dream to manage because in many ways he could be the big kid at times. You know, he liked an arm round him, you know, couldn't stand a rollicking that well. But there wouldn't be many occasions when you'd need to rollick Cyrille. If you did, he knew that you meant it.
Cyrille took over with 3 games to go, and with Coventry needing 6 points to stay up.
I thought, right, if I'm going to do this, I've got to change the tactics, because I'd seen Cyrille used, in my opinion, the wrong way. They were knocking balls over the top and asking him to chase, and I was saying, no, he's got to be the centre pin of our side. He was what I built all my coaching around, all the team padding the play around was big Cyrille.
And he gave us a mandate: if we win 2 out of 3, whether we stay up or go down, we can go to Frangarola for a week's holiday.
Well, that one was easier because we just had to win 2 of them. So we managed to do that without too much trouble. I say lying out with back teeth.
We half thought that with a little bit of organisation and a little bit of discipline perhaps within the 11 or the 15, 16 of us, that we could make a bit more of a go of it. We thought we were underachieving really.
And went to Frangarola, and it was in the London bar, I think, in Frangarola. He came up and he said, how do you like playing football? Now, what do you think we should play? And I said, well, it's got to be on the ground, it's got to be up to the forwards, for a bit of flair, lots of movement, solid defence. And I think he asked 2 or 3 players what they thought, what was happening beforehand under Don Mackay. And we proceeded to play that way the next year, and it worked fantastically.
Not over yet. It's Gibson with Roberts. Still Gibson. Now for Regis. Cyrille Regis, right on the stroke of the final whistle, has done it for Coventry.
With Butterworth going up outside him, that's Bennett's shot, and here's Regis, surely. Yes!
He was such a massive figure, has such great control, great touch, and he would bring players round him.
There's not many players that you see now who could hold the ball up and bring other players into the team as he done. You know, I mean, he didn't have the greatest of engines, but you know, he could play.
Ask him to go on a long run, and Cyrille was possibly had the smallest pair of lungs in the club. So don't ask him to do those things. That's the way I believed in playing.
The Coventry side of 86-87 was a tremendous side to play in. And the team spirit which was generated by John and George was second to none.
We all got to know each other really well. We all got on well off the pitch as well. You know, we socialised together, and I think it really rubbed off on the pitch then.
They played a passing game very much, and for a small club in those days, they were renowned for some attractive football.
That team spirit sparked a belief in the Coventry camp that success lay just around the corner. A visit to Old Trafford in the 4th round of the FA Cup gave them an opportunity to put it to the test.
I think we had a week in Spain before that game, again, socialising, building team spirit.
And we quite fancied our chances of going up there and, I suppose, upsetting the apple cart a little bit.
Coventry with the throw. Regis can't quite make himself a space. Downs. Phillips for Houchin. Oh, it might fall for the Coventry man. It's in. 20 minutes gone.
Bobbled everywhere from far right inside, and he must have ricocheted about 100 times before Houchin stabbed it in.
That basically was the first reaction from me that we got a good side at Coventry. We got a side capable of winning things.
The longer the run went on, the more confident we got I was going to win it. We just had it in, had that feeling that we was going to win it. It was just, it's uncanny. We just knew he was going to win.
A 5th round victory at Stoke led to the Sky Blues drawing Sheffield Wednesday in the quarter-finals at Hillsborough.
I'd never lost at the ground before, and I had this great premonition that Sheffield Wednesday was going to come within our cup run. And when we were drawn, I said, there you are, boys, what did I tell you? Sheffield Wednesday, we're there, we're through, we'll beat them.
Regis Bennett steps over the attentions of Madden. Regis! Now, Cyrille Regis with just Hodge to beat, and he has! Cyrille Regis, his 12th goal of the season.
That was the power of Regis. That was a typical Regis goal, I call it.
Bennett. Regis lets it run under his feet to Houchen. Houchen, has he made himself space? Oh, he came off the defender. It's an own goal. Houchen will take the credit. Worthington, oh, it's fallen in the path of Houchen. It's number 3. It's all over now. And Houchen salutes the Coventry supporters.
You know, he was Royal Rovers that year. He had a great year, and a great run in the cup, Keith Houchen.
Coventry were on a roll and were pleased to be pulled out of the hat with Leeds in the semi-final draw.
We were classed as the favourites because obviously Leeds were a second division side then. And to be honest, for the first 20 minutes, they were all over us.
I think we were all looking around at each other, trying to look for somebody to lead us.
And we've gone in 1-0 down. And Lord McGrath, who doesn't say a word unless he's had a few beers, he started just singing, "Here we go, here we go, here we go.
Here we go, here we go.
Here we go, here we go, here we go." Then all the lads joined in as well, and the noise it made must have frightened Leeds, because it was tremendous, it was.
The hairs stood in your back of your neck, and we went out there second half and we won the game.
Take the free kick. Regis, Houchen, and Bennett! Coventry regain the lead. And here it comes. Coventry City with John Cyrille, the abiding influence, the chief coach, have gone through to the FA Cup final for the first time in a history that stretches back 104 years.
The realisation that we were going to play in a major cup final, the FA Cup final. I mean, everybody dreams about those things. We were actually going to go to Wembley. We were there.
Successful in an FA Cup semi-final.
To be at a club that gets to Wembley for its first time in its history, it's fantastic. It's an experience to be experienced. The whole city was just alight. It was high that Coventry got to the cup final.
For fans and players alike, the build-up to the great day was a nerve-wracking experience.
We said to John, you know, feeling a bit nervous, can we have a few beers? He said, okay, but I don't want nobody to see you. So we went to the off-licence, had about 3 or 4 cans, went back into the room. We used to play cards and watch Cheers and just a bit of television. Had a couple of cans of lager, and went out the next day and won the cup.
Most of all, you know, it was to get them to do the right thing, and the right thing for me was not to give away a silly goal early on, but that's when your coaching can go out the window.
I remember John Cyrille saying before the game, keep it tight for 10 minutes. The one thing we don't want to do is lose an early goal, and true to those very prophetic words, we went out and 2 minutes later we were 1-0 down.
It's come out again to Chris Waddle. It's his... Allen! Clive Allen! Would you believe it?
I remember going back to the goal kick and Keith Hatcher saying, let's keep it down to 2 or 3. We don't want to be the side who gets hammered 4 or 5-0 in the cup final.
Now then, our team was purely tested now. Now we had to see what they were capable of.
Regis, Downs. Houchen. Bennett! David Bennett! 1-1. Look at John Cyrille. They're level after 9 minutes.
It was a tremendous feeling. Great feeling to know we're back, we've got a chance.
Houchin's in there again, and so is Regis. No, the referee has blown for an offence, I think, by Houchin.
I mean, I watch the video every now and again, but I still can't see why it give the foul.
And Goff's there, and Mamet was there, and it's got in! Spurs are back in front, and Gary Mamet followed in from Richard Goff, and it's 2-1.
Kilcline should have got it away, and Oggy should have got it away in between them, you know. It hits Kilcline on the shoulder and trickles into the net. So the theme was a raving maniac called John Cyrille at half-time. And I said it's a showpiece, it's the centre stage of football. Now, for God's sake, don't disappoint yourself. This may be the only chance in life you get a being on this stage. For the rest of your life, you'll never forgive yourself if you don't go out and give it your all.
Regis, Houchin, Bennett.
I flicked it on to Keith Houchin, actually controlled it and went on to Dave Bennett. Dave Bennett didn't beat his man. I think it was Mitchell Thomas didn't get close enough to him, and Dave Bennett bent it round him, and I think it was Nick Pickering who shouted to Keith Houchin, "Dive, dive, dive."
And it's one of the classic goals of Wembley, the diving header. It was classic for us anyway.
Who now face an extra half hour.
Our fitness was superb. You know, the boys are trained very, very hard, and the fitness was there, and you knew that the longer the game would go on, as I'm saying, into extra time, the Tottenham boys were all sitting down, you know, and I said, no boys, you stand up.
But psychology was, keep on our feet so that we're still strong, we're still quite fit, and they'll be looking over saying, God, no, we're tired, but they're standing up. So whether it worked or not, it's just little games that you play all the time.
This is Graham Roger, did that beautifully. Pickering's in the centre, Regis joining him. Oh, Mamet! It's an own goal! Gary Mamet put it in. Lloyd McGrath gets the congratulations.
Looked up, saw Gary Mamet there, crossed into his knee and in it went.
If your name's on the cup, it's on the cup, and Clements was stranded. He went over his head into the net, and we hang on till the final whistle.
I've never known time to go so slow. The whole day flew by afterwards, but that last 5 minutes was the longest 5 minutes of my life.
George Curtis has felt all afternoon. Just look at John Cyrille. He knows how close they are to glory. Unheard of before in Coventry's history. And that's it! It's Coventry City's first major trophy in 104 years. And Tottenham Hotspur have been beaten in an FA Cup final for the very first time. George Curtis and John Cyrille elated. And there are one or two players who still can't quite believe it.
Your head's spinning, your head's, it's off. It's a moment of pure elation.
It's hard to describe, really, the elation, the relief, the jubilation. There's so many emotions going on all at once.
What a proud moment for this Midlands club. The Sky Blues are sky high.
That you've won the cup, the most famous knockout competition in the world, in front of 16 million people around the world, and 98,000 people in Wembley Stadium. And to win the cup, it's the only trophy I've ever won in such a good game, good-tempered game, good game of style, very watchable game. It was a fantastic feeling.
Now a team in the real sense of the word.
I can remember leaving the coach at Wembley, and it had Coventry 3, Tottenham 2 on the scoreboard, and me and Mickey Jim just had a few lagers, and we just went, look at that score.
Revitalised their careers, they've revitalised the club.
It really brought home to me how much people love football, how emotive it is, and how it's a passionate game. You know, the people of Coventry I mean, was delighted. They were so happy, and see their faces, the sky blue and white scarves and paints and scarves, and everywhere was just awash with sky blue.
Players came out on the balcony there and gave the fans what they wanted. That was a fabulous day.
It did an amazing amount for the city. Anybody you speak to who was connected with Coventry, the city, during that time will tell you that it was a very special occasion.
They really were great times, and certainly the highlight of my period at Coventry.
There's a funny joke going around Coventry, because we always had to win the last game to stay up in the division, and it was going around that we would win the cup, because we always win the last game of the season.
FA Cup glory sparked arguably the most successful 4 years in the Sky Blues' history, and they were playing some great football to boot.
Some of the football we played was excellent. It was smooth, it was fluid, it was aggressive, it was hard working, and it was fun.
He picked himself off the floor, because Cyrille was basically going nowhere, and he worked so hard to get back. And he not only got back, I think the greatest achievement was he got back into the international side and on the international scene.
Beardsley goes off, and Cyrille Regis gets the last 20 minutes or so.
And that to me was my moment with Cyrille, you know, little lump. I was there at Wembley and a lump come in my throat, because I thought together we've helped him there a bit, you know, and obviously he'd done the hard work in playing, but I just felt that maybe there was something there that I may have achieved to getting Cyrille back on that Wembley pitch. Very proud man.
But it wasn't all glory days. In January 1989, Coventry were drawn away at Little Sutton United in the third round of the FA Cup.
And we lost 2-1, and that is the worst feeling I've ever had in football. The worst. I mean, I went out and got drunk for 2 or 3 days. It was that bad.
To me, I just felt it was fate that day. We went there, we had loads and loads of chances. We just couldn't convert them. We were hitting the post, hitting the bar. Nothing was going in. And we gave away 2 sloppy goals.
And Golly, and Rains, and a goal! And Phillips has made a run from left back, and there's danger here for Sutton United, and Phillips has put Coventry City level. Here's Dawson. Oh, and driven in! And Sutton have done it again from a corner kick.
Difference in emotion from winning the cup and losing at Sutton United. I mean, you just can't get two contrast of emotions. It was humiliating, embarrassing, an experience you'd never want to go through, never.
To go there and to lose that game was a terrible, terrible feeling. That is the lowest point, certainly, of my career.
I remember going in the dressing room after that match and seeing faces of players who 2 years prior had been so elated, so down, you know, they were all down, and I thought, well, the one thing I've got to do now is protect these players, because they had a lot of pride. And to go to Sutton and lose was, you know, one of the biggest shock results ever in the FA Cup history.
Still hurts now. It hurts now.
We took them away for a few days. We went off to Spain and got together, a couple of drinks and a couple of sort of easy training sessions, and take football away from it, or golf, play anything, do anything.
We stuck together and we had a laugh. You know, the lads played golf. I wasn't a great lover of golf, but the lads went in, joined in. I didn't take to it too much. Still played golf, and he used to play with Lloydie and a lad, Trevor Peake, who used to be known as the Hackers, because he used to have that much grass around, but everyone joined in.
Cyrille was never the best golfer, and Trevor Peake wasn't, and Lloyd McGrath wasn't, and Brian Kilcline hit the ball 200 miles, but it was never straight. And I've never been the best golfer, but we shared one thing in common: we used to enjoy a game.
He's remedied that. Now he's using the right end of the club, and he's hitting it quite far.
Too quick, Cyrille.
Recovering from footballing tragedy is one thing, but recovering from the death in a car accident in Spain of his closest friend Laurie Cunningham left Cyrille wondering if his priorities in life were the right ones.
But when Laurie died, it really brought questions into my mind about my priorities in life, in terms of where am I going, why am I putting such high priority on material things and football and glory. There was more to life than what I was getting. I couldn't take these things with me. So that's when I basically went on a quest of finding out for myself what's most important to me.
And I think it was almost a case of, you know, but for the grace of God go I. You know, he'd been in a car crash himself with Laurie, and I think it shook him to the core.
We've spoke about it over the years, and it did have a great influence on how he changed his life. He became a born-again Christian not long after.
I think through the religion, he sort of discovered his own peace, and you know, that probably helped in his personal life.
And he's been to the States and all over the world, really, coaching kids with the Christians in sport, and he thoroughly enjoys all that.
Professional to the end, Cyrille put Laurie's death to the back of his mind to produce one of his best displays in a sky blue shirt at Anfield in November 1989.
Superb at the other day, Cyrille was, and that put us in the lead. And then we just had a small match of about 20-25 minutes to try and you know, hold on to that lead.
And to go to Liverpool, the citadel of the Kop, and get a result once in your career was great.
Coventry continued to produce some cracking form, which saw them go all the way to the semi-finals of the League Cup, drawing Nottingham Forest with the first leg at the City Ground.
Flick in by him. Oh, was that handball? Yes, it was a handball by Regis. That may have been the wind took the ball and wrong-footed Cyrille Regis.
I trapped it on my thigh, and to this day, I know I didn't handball it, and there's no redress, there's no slow motion camera to say, well, you know, I didn't handball it. But one of those things is very frustrating indeed.
Hit his thigh as well. Clough against Brizovic. It's 1-0 Forest. Straight to Dobson and Livingston. Oh, a tremendous goal by the Forest captain Stuart Pearce.
Strive as they might, Coventry couldn't find the net in the second leg and missed out on a return to Wembley. But the following season allowed them an opportunity for quick revenge, and they defeated Forest 5-4 in a Highfield Road thriller. Over the years, Cyrille's stature at the club had grown to a point where manager John Cyrille began to see him as a potential successor.
I was asked at Coventry to sign a 4-year contract, and I just felt that was too long. And the agreement between the board and myself had been I'd sign a 3-year contract, and Cyrille and Trevor Peake would take over from George Curtis and myself. And I thought it was the right blend, because Cyrille was harder than people would give him credit for, in as much as he wouldn't be messed about. You know, he never suffered fools easily or gladly, but most of all he had this strict rule of there's a right way and a wrong way of doing things.
He just saw certain things in terms of the way the lads approached us, I respect within the camp, and he thought, yeah, you know, he wanted to create a situation like Liverpool, and we were the two at the time.
But it was certainly a thing that I was looking to do at the end of my career, and I know Cyrille was at the end of his career, even though we thought we could play obviously for a few more years yet. We were both very delighted to be offered, and I think both very keen to take up that offer that John Cyrille gave us.
And I still think that would have been the right way to have done it. It's easy to talk, but we'd planned that before. To talk after now, and they say, well, I can't understand why they never give it a chance.
Not only were Cyrille and Trevor Peake not given their chance as coaches, but Cyrille himself was sacked early in the 1990-91 season.
It was a complete shock, absolute shock to us. As you know, as a player, we don't know what's going on in boardroom levels behind the closed doors on the management side, and it came through George that John had got the sack.
And it was obvious the following day that Terry Butcher had been lined up for the job, and I'm sure it hastened the decision to sack John.
Terry Butcher was installed as the manager, which completely threw us.
Coventry's form slumped, and despite Cyril's continued goal scoring, struggled in the lower reaches all season.
I mean, I'd been there 7 years, and Terry Butcher came in, and I think him and his management team wanted younger faces in. I was 33, and I was playing quite well, to be quite fair. And I went up to Terry Butcher and asked him, come in for last Thursday in March, which is the deadline date. I said, what's happening contract-wise? And he said, well, I'm going to give you a free.
Obviously, his pride must have been hurt, knowing that Terry Butcher was, obviously trying to get rid of him. But Cyrille just went about his job in a normal way, giving 100%. Like, that's the only way Cyrille knows. I think probably Terry Butcher might admit that he made a mistake.
Cyrille really was allowed to go, in my opinion, far too early. He's the best front man that we've had at this club. He holds it up well. He's got tremendous pace, tremendous in the air, and these abilities have not left him.
You turn negative into positive anyway. So you think, well, I want a free on. You've got to put yourself out there and play better to get yourself a decent move. And for 2 months, I played well. The fans were shouting, Cyrille must stay, Cyrille must stay. He had already bought Robert Rosario for £600,000 for Norwich as my replacement, and subsequently I went.
Freed for the first time in his career, Cyrille searched for a new club. Little did he know that a figure from the past was about to throw his career a lifeline.
I never believe that once players get over a certain age that they're finished automatically. I think they've still got plenty to offer if they retain A, the fitness, and B, their enthusiasm. And when I saw Cyrille play for Coventry, I thought he was I thought whenever I saw him, he was their best player.
Back to Big Ron. His first signing for Aston Villa, he said to me, come along on a free transfer. And I signed there for a year.
I was delighted when Cyrille signed, because obviously, having played against him, I know the sort of player that he was, and it was just great to have him on our side. He's a big, strong lad. I'd been knocked around a few times by him, so I was glad now that he was going to be on our side.
What I found was a great drive and a great incentive was the expectancy level, which was different from Coventry. Coventry, the expectancy level was more just to stay in the first division, the Premiership, just to stay there. Where Aston Villa, the expectancy level was to win it.
Villa opened the 1991-92 season with a visit to Hillsborough.
And that was quite an emotional day. Ron Atkinson had walked out on Sheffield not long before, and you can imagine the sort of vindictive approach that he received from the Sheffield supporters. It was quite vitriolic and a bit unpleasant at times.
Not only did Villa have to contend with a hostile atmosphere, but they also had to get to grips with a new team containing 8 new signings making their Villa debuts.
Beautifully struck by Danny Wilson.
I don't know about making the debut. For the first half an hour, it looked as if they'd never met each other. We were 2 down, and it could have been 20. Just before half-time, we had a corner, and it was floated in. Woodsy came out, and big Cyrille went flying in, and it was like a crowd scene. It was like shrapnel coming up from everywhere. They all crumpled into a heap. The ball went out for another corner. And this is right on the stroke of half-time, the next ball came across, and big Cyrille, same sort of corner, but there was no goalkeeper this time. The goalkeeper wasn't coming for the ball.
And it looks a good one as well, and a difficult flap, and the ball's in the net for Aston Villa, and Cyrille Regis has his first goal for Villa on his debut.
And Big Ron, who had known the side, he just said, well, keep playing. They'll wilt. I've been there, I know the character of the team. They will wilt. Just keep playing along, and we win the game.
Richardson's loop ball is aimed at Atkinson. Force for Regis, brilliant ball from Regis to Mortimer. He can make it 2-2 here. Fine save, but Atkinson's there. Well, Atkinson has shown little emotion up to this moment, but I detect a wry smile there now. And it's Villa's turn to come on the charge, and Atkinson, it's going to be 1 against 1 here. Chris Woods waits, and it's squared for Staunton. And Steve Staunton strikes what might well prove to be a winner for Villa.
Even if he had been signed for a fee, he would have repaid most of it that day.
Amongst Atkinson's new-look team were players of the calibre of Dalian Atkinson, Dwight Yorke, and the man Villa fans refer to simply as God.
Paul McGrath is a fantastic player. So much respect for the guy. He's got his problems, he's got his knee problems, but when he goes out on the pitch, it's like all his problems just disappear. One of the best players I've ever played with. His reading of the game, his speed, his unflappability is second to none.
Cyrille was retained at the end of the 1991-92 season, and the team started to gel, putting together a great run of league form.
Lining up in the middle, cross comes in, Regis!
That year we played some wonderful stuff. Although I was injured most of the time, I made about 14 appearances, albeit a lot of them substitutions. But to be part of that side, and we played some really good stuff to come second.
Awkward bounce for Tyler, awkward position for Crossley, brilliantly finished by Cyrille Regis. 34 years young.
The energy that comes from such a big crowd who are willing you on, who are expecting a good result, expecting you to try your hardest. The energy that comes from a crowd like that is fantastic.
The Villa fans took to him straight away. He scored a few goals for us as well, and all the supporters just loved him.
Cyrille was the man, and he had a great influence in the dressing room, and the way he conducted himself.
When I considered give me a year originally, I done pretty well, scored 10 goals, and he gave me another year, which way became second. At that time I think I was about 36, 37. And he said, well, you know, I think you're past it now at Premiership level. And he gave me a free.
Cyrille moved on once more to another Midlands club. This time he was to be wearing the old gold of Wolves.
He made an immediate impact, hardly wasted a ball, did everything right, and you thought straight away, here's a player who's going to challenge Bully and David Kelly.
So we've now got Wenshep up front with Marshall. Regis heads on, Kelly. Regis!
Didn't play a lot of games, but realised how big and big club Wolves are, been there for a year.
Regis, Kelly, goal! It's David Kelly, and it's 1-1.
And players move around, and you end up playing against sides that you've been playing for. So you've just got to be professional about it and switch off and say, I've got a job to do, got a player to play against. Sometimes, a lot of times, you want to do better against your old club. You really do. You want to do better and show them, this is what you're missing.
Sometimes a player can move to another local club and everybody goes, oh, we don't want him because he was there for such a time or whatever. I don't think that applies with Regis.
It's rare that you get one player from one camp who can be popular in another, but I think it's worth remembering when Cyrille went on as a substitute in a West Brom Wolves game shortly after he arrived at Wolves. I remember the Albion fans giving him a good reception as he went on, and that doesn't happen an awful lot in Albion Wolves games.
Had a great reception, one that would live with me for a long, long time, to think that I played for the opposition, the deadliest enemy, and still getting a warm welcome by the Albion fans.
Even when he wore a Wolves shirt, no Albion supporter held it against him. In fact, he's the only Wolves player I've ever known to be applauded onto the pitch by Albion supporters.
A change of manager saw Cyrille released in the close season once more. This time there was little interest from other clubs, or so Cyrille thought, until he received a late-night phone call.
Alan Parry came on, and he persuaded Martin O'Neill to have a word with me, and Martin O'Neill, we struck a deal up at Wycombe Wanderers in 7 minutes.
Scored a few goals, came into the side, did very well, and his whole manner, the younger players in the side just immediately looked up to him, and he was a terrific influence.
I was part of probably the oldest striking force in the Football League at the time, me and Simon Garner. We played together for maybe 5 or 6 months, and working with Martin O'Neill, who's very charismatic manager, motivational skills, second to none. It was a tremendous experience and good fun.
Cyrille's whole presence gave the club a great lift, and he just became instantly popular with the players.
Yeah, we came 7th, just short. Just short. I played up to Christmas and I got an injury. He brought in a couple of players, McGavie and a few others, and I didn't play too much, Miguel de Souza, and we were just short.
O'Neill moved on to manage Norwich, and once again Cyrille was released. But there was one more club which required his services.
Kevin Ratcliffe at Chester chased me up, and I went there for a year. He wanted my type of striker.
He did excellent for us. He held the ball up. He did everything we asked of him. We didn't sort of try and play him the full 90 minutes because I liked him to get a little bit of a standing ovation when he come off.
The crowd took to him straight away, which was important for Cyrille. And he got a couple of goals early on, which helped him. And as I say, it was an ideal signing for us.
Cyrille's got this aura about him anyway. He's a big guy, and obviously he's very well known. And I think it's something that Chester were looking for. The supporters could relate, and obviously knew Cyrille from the past. So somebody like that who came to Chester was a big boost for us.
But you saw a lot of journeyman third division players that were watching this man in training, and it was rubbing off on them. And as such, Chester City had quite a good season that season, and it was basically down to Cyrille.
Got another year's contract out of him, and I was there for 2 years. Unfortunately, had to pack up for injury a year ago. I suffer from calcification, where if I bleed and the bony cell gets into the bleeding gets hard, it calcifies and effectively turns to the bone. And I must have had a fracture of my ankle, my tibia, the smaller bone, years and years ago, and the calcification must have grown and grown. And what happened, it fused the tibia and the fibula together, so I had basically no joint. And so I couldn't twist or turn, there was no shock absorbency. And so after 20 years, I thought I was going to pack it in anyway, but this just sort of like hastened my decision.
His distinguished playing days over, Cyrille turned his thoughts to building a new career and jumped at the opportunity to go back to his roots and coach the Baggies.
Getting on to the management level is always a very tricky task. It's a lot about who you know, not who you are or what you know. So it was a great opportunity at West Bromwich.
It lifted the morale inside the camp tremendously, especially behind the scenes. The people who were working behind the scenes who'd actually seen him play as a player in his first spell at the club were delighted.
I think he's obviously got respect because of what he's achieved. But I think he also has respect because of the way he conducts himself. And he brings to us, as I said, an example of what we should be striving to be.
He's got a good personality, and he's got a good presence about him, and I think that in itself makes players want to achieve and set their standards higher when they look at people who've actually been there and done it. I think it's a great motivator.
I just see myself as one imparting what I do know and learning different skills on that level, and having John Turek and Ray Harford certainly opened my eyes in a way which was really revealing in terms of coaching, the depth of coaching, the variety, the knowledge you have, the skills that you have to attain. It's a good learning curve. It's a great challenge for me as a person.
To come back as he has done to become reserve team coach is a major achievement for us, and I think the supporters love it for it.
Those supporters long for a return to the glory days of Cyrille's first spell at the Hawthorns. But what is Cyrille's ambition?
Well, to get Albion into the Premiership.
Regis, and that secures the points.
He's a hero, but as a bloke, I think he'll go down as one of the nice guys.
They had such great faith in him, you'd hear him chant, Cyrille, Cyrille, and straight away you'd see Cyrille sort of stick his chest out to say, come on, I've got to do something for these fans and prove that their support of me is right.
Cyrille Regis with just Hodge to beat, and he has!
He go out his way to help children and to help any supporters, really. A very likeable fella.
I just find him such a nice guy and so easy to approach. Not all players are that accommodating, but there's never been a problem with Cyrille.
When you've got a
centre forward who's got great presence, and you know, he is a hero because he scores great goals and wins football matches and that. Then fans they love the centre forwards.
Regis! Oh, what a shot! What a goal! That was something special.
The biggest compliment I can give to Cyrille Regis, I think, really, is that the West Brom fans put him as high, if not higher, than the likes of Jeff Astle.
A fantastic striker, you know, and it's capable of scoring the most subtle of goals, but also the most spectacular and brutal of goals as well.
The running from halfway line, beating 6 players and rifling the ball into the net from the edge of the area, which was always his trademark.
And here's Regis. They're caught square. This is a chance. Oh, he did it superbly.
Every goal he got was a sort of goal of the week, or goal of the month, or goal of the year. You know, he gave a lot of pleasure and a lot of excitement to people.
Player to be admired, a player to be respected, and a player to be copied.
It seemed like every time Cyrille was on the telly, he'd done something good, and it just made me feel even more to want to be a professional footballer, and I hope that I can have that effect on other people.
It was fantastic to play alongside him and fantastic to be a friend of his.
A tremendous guy to know, and tremendous friend.
The way in which he helped break down the barriers and prove once and for all that football's a game for everyone, regardless of where you come from, what colour you are, whether you've been rejected as a schoolboy, you can still end up leaving school at 16, starting off I think as an electrician, and end up playing for England.
England are going to make a substitution. Beardsley goes off, and Cyrille Regis gets the last 20 minutes or so.
He was a superstar, but he didn't portray himself as a superstar. He's just a down-to-earth, genuine person.
And I roomed with Cyrille when we were at Villa, and we'd have chats, and he'd sort you out. He'd sit down, he'd take time out for you, and sort you out, you know.
He's got this humility, this touch of humility, which I think we all should have. We all haven't got it, but we all should have. And he's got that. He's got time for everybody.
Onside, it's Regis. Robson is in the centre, and Regis scores for Albion.
We got to know Cyrille as a friend after watching him as a hero. He's, it's a real special feeling.
And that's what people liked about him. He was a great footballer. He was a tremendous ambassador for the club and for his country when he played for his country. But with the fans, he was a smashing bloke.
Statham. Regis took it down beautifully. 2-1.
Trustworthy. I trust him in my life. I wouldn't say that about many people, but I trust Cyrille Regis with my life.
The description of gentle giant would apply to him as much as it ever did to say somebody like John Charles.
From my point of view, he was the perfect example as an ambassador of West Bromwich Albion, and indeed football in general.
On for Regis. Oh, what a goal!
It's a privilege. It's a privilege to work with good managers, good players, to play for good teams, appreciative fans. It's just been a privilege and a tremendous experience.
Regis taking it well on the chest, and a lovely piece of control by Regis. Oh, and what a great shot! Oh, one of the goals of the season. Cyrille Regis.
He was one of the people that God made to be big. And this man will be a big man all his life.
Oh, a chance here perhaps for Regis. Oh, what a shot!
Cyrille Regis, truly a legend of soccer.